Welcome back to TVC News Politics on Sunday. I still have here in the studio President Tinubu's special advisor on media and publicity, Chief Ajuri Ngilale. You have said President Tinubu is not opposed to the right of citizens to peacefully protest, because he also has a background of engaging in this kind of civil protest that also help pile pressure on the military regime to restore constitutional democracy in Nigeria. And before we went on that break, you're talking about some of the policies, some of the programs and policies of this administration. Now I'd let you wrap up on all of these policies that are crucial to the well-being of citizens and will still need some more time to manifest.
Look, there's no question about the fact that there is a lot of work that it has to be done, and there's a lot of work that is being done, and some of which is not going to have the bells and whistles of, you know, TV cameras, and nobody's going to be sitting in the office, for example, of the CBN governor as he's doing his paperwork, which leads to you know, the full payoff of $7 billion worth of foreign exchange backlog. It has massive impact on investor confidence. It has massive impact on, you know, the medium-term kind of monetary, you know, space in the country. But, you know, that's not something that people are necessarily going to be dancing and celebrating about. So there's a lot going on. I think the key thing for us is to recognize that the president has agreed that we are going to ensure that our states, and now by virtue of the president's action with the institution of the suit that ultimately resulted in a Supreme Court judgment that has led to local government financial autonomy, he's going to ensure that the local governments now have the fiscal space they need to be able to truly deliver the dividends of democracy that our people require at that level. I think that is restructuring in practice. That is the kind of thing that Nigerians would need to give some time to see what the difference actually will translate into in terms of the impact on their livelihoods, right? So, for example, if you have a situation where money is entering, you know, a joint account with the state governors on the part of the local governments, and that money is not translating to effective, you know, roads delivery or, you know, other critical human development sectors, for example, especially in, you know, health, et cetera, you will know that when we have approved that there's going to be more money being sent, and it's being sent to the local governments directly, people should feel that. But again, it's not going to happen on the day of the judgment. It has to manifest itself. I think the other part of this is to recognize that it is under the leadership of this president that we have had a 100% increase in the national minimum wage. And I think it will be difficult for, you know, everybody in the country to fully appreciate what it took in terms of the leadership of the president to get the private sector to agree in uniformity with the state governments and local governments, making sure that everybody is on the same page with respect to the payment of a new national minimum wage. It's not easy to achieve that. He achieved it. I think there are a lot of elements of what the president has done that Nigerians truly do appreciate and truly do recognize as progressive. These are things that we've been in this democratic dispensation now for about 25 years. We have not seen some of the measures that this president has now put in place ever been put in place before. So I think people have confidence, but I think it's also fair to say that people are frustrated. People do feel that they are, you know, buckling under this intense economic difficulty with respect to energy prices, food inflation, and many of the other elements. But what we are working hard in hand with our people to communicate is that the trends are moving in the right direction. We are seeing revenues going up. We are seeing inflation growth stagnate into a descent. So we have come through the worst of it, and this is what we're communicating to our people. And we will, together with them, get to the end of where the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, let's move to some other issues now. You know, we have always had President Bola Tinubu talk about Nigeria being open for business. He's gone around the world engaging with foreign investors to bring their money to Nigeria. And there's this state visit. You know, he's been invited by President Xi Jinping of China on a state visit. I know people, the economists are now saying that this clearly holds some prospects and opportunities for Nigeria. But the question now is, How will Nigeria take advantage of this agreement to ensure it's not lopsided but balanced for national interests?
Thank you very much. So I think if we take Lagos State as a case study in development with respect to His Excellency Mr. President's use of state power to bring in private sector investment that ultimately leads to the uplift of livelihoods in the millions of people, on a scale of millions of people, then we would know that this is a president whose only focus and interest when he attends such important bilateral or multilateral engagements overseas is about how he's going to achieve the national interest and our national objectives. And it's going to be no different on this state visit on the invitation of President Xi Jinping. Look, this president is going to go with a very clear agenda. The agenda is going to be about how we can leverage on Chinese technical excellence and financial wherewithal, which we know is extremely significant, to be able to mobilize the kind of capital formation required to assist us as we build out the infrastructural foundation of what will be one of the world's leading economies, Nigeria, in the next 20 years. But it requires that kind of partnership. Now, this is not going to be a matter of just chasing a loan. What we're looking at now is win-win, mutually beneficial private sector investment in sectors that would massively create jobs for our people. These are, inclusively growth incubating sectors, such as agriculture, right? So whereas maybe before the focus would have just been on maybe an oil and gas investment and maybe one infrastructure project somewhere, this president is looking at those inclusive developing sectors, right? He's looking at agriculture. He's saying, look, how can we, leverage on Chinese capital and expertise with respect to agricultural mechanization? How can we ensure that our farmers across the country have access to equipments and supplements that would ultimately double and exponentially increase their yields so that we can bring down food inflation and flood our market with locally produced food items? This is the vision of the president. The president goes there saying, look, how can we create new investments in renewable energy technology manufacturing, for example? Obviously, I'm at the forefront of that particular aspect of it, but there are a lot of other aspects that the president is tackling.
Yes, you just returned from China, where you met with some major industrial corporation as part of your assignment on the climate front. Now, what are some of the low-hanging fruits that can be plucked from these year engagements in the climate front before the big wins?
It is unbelievable what we can achieve when we reach out. What I mean by that is, when I was in China, I had the privilege, alongside the executive governor of Nasarawa State, His Excellency Abdullahi Sule, and the MD CEO of Infraco, Dr. Lazarus Ambazo, to go on the invitation of a major industry in China, CATL, which is the world's largest EV battery manufacturer. Essentially, they've created a very detailed presentation to us because they have an interest in Evergreen City. And so they tailored a presentation to us about what those technologies are that could ultimately be put in place within Evergreen City for mutual beneficiation. What we ended up coming to was an amazing set of technology that CATL has mastered and is producing and is already proliferating around the world, which essentially enables, there's a typical solar plant, right, where you see the solar panels all lined up in long rows in some field somewhere, and it lights up certain areas. What they have now is they have a similar setup, but it's attached to an energy storage unit that looks like a power generator, very large. And they are able to capture hundreds of megawatts, and it sounds like a lot, but I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of megawatts worth of solar power capture that would now have its own dedicated transmission line and distribution infrastructure toward specific industries, right, that require that level of output. So they have it tailored to a 10 megawatts version, 50 megawatts version, 300 megawatts version, depending on the scale of industry that you're talking about. If we take a surgical approach to powering green industrial development. I'm talking about the manufacturing facilities that manufacture solar panels, that manufacture EV batteries, especially in lithium-rich Nasarawa State, where Evergreen City is sited. In things like biomass facilities, wind blade manufacturing for the solar for the wind farms. These things can be powered on solar energy that is captured by an energy storage system that is ultimately able to feed those industries. So you have cyclical power generation and offtake in a way that allows for CATL to recoup its money, not from the Nigerian government, not through Chinese loan, but by the actual industry that is off-taking the power directly from them. So it's a win-win. All we are doing is to, and this is why it's important to have sophisticated leadership in the person of His Excellency, Mr. President, because we're now able to have a situation where government simply enables, because the president, in his vision and wisdom, signed on to the reform of the Electricity Act early in 2023. That has now enabled for the liberalization of elements that were previously exclusive with respect to generation and distribution. So what we now have is when we now go to China, we can actually say, look, we will take hands off as government. You come into the site, you will power, for example, a Chinese or a German solar panel manufacturer. They will off-take your power. They will pay you directly, and we are sitting back watching the power generator and distributor benefit from the offtake that is generated by the manufacturing facility that is off-taking. So they get the power they want to generate their products and generate profits, and then the power producer gets the profit they want, because ultimately you have that off-taker. This is the ecosystem that we can develop without any gas, without any oil, without any coal, or without any other form of power generation. That is not to say that gas is not going to be a central theme of the future of our economy. It's going to have a major role in terms of our industrialization. But we are setting Nigeria up for a dual track where we can have green industry right next to gas-powered industry. And this is something that this is going to be a major legacy of His Excellency President Bola Tinubu.
All right then, Ajuri Ngelale, sorry, we're out of time. But it's interesting how you've been able to navigate your job as a special advisor, media and publicity. A very demanding job at a time when there's so much to communicate to Nigerians. Match it with this important job as special advisor on climate. And a lot of people are also asking, like, how have you been able to juggle it?
Well, look, Femi, leadership is about coordination and effective delegation, and making sure that you've prepared a team that can carry out assignments on your behalf in a way that ensures that when you are not physically present, standards don't reduce in any way. We've been able to achieve that, but ultimately it is a credit to the belief and faith that His Excellency President Bola Tinubu has had in us to balance these two assignments. And fortunately, so far, we have not fallen short. But look, there's still a lot of work to do. And we're going to continue to be humble in our approach to the hard work that we have to get done.
All right, thank you so much, Ajuri Ngelale. Well, that's it on our program today.